It's Tuesday, July 28th, 2026. More from the Fauci diaries. Is it time to stop talking about Iran and time to reorder some priorities? Next on the AM Update. Boy, that has been all the buzz so far this week are the revelations from Anthony Fauci's diary circa 2020 and 2021. Courtesy of Senator Rand Paul, who released the entries from Fauci's diary pertaining to his entries on COVID and his fame and accolade, and that is very much what many of these entries are about. Anthony Fauci, the face of the government's response to coronavirus, he was appointed by President Trump to head up the coronavirus task force, kind of the main figurehead in the fight against the pandemic. President Trump's pick back in 2020 to lead this fight. Rife in his diary entries with how much fame and how much attention that he's getting. Just like the quote we read you yesterday, that's kind of the main one, but there are many others that are surfacing as well. This is one from March 21st. He leads this journal entry, this diary entry, by making a note of the total deaths worldwide. He writes down the global total of 234,000, new 24,000, USA 19,000 dead from the coronavirus, allegedly. I think the way they tabulated deaths is all messed up, but in his world, this is all attributed to the virus. 5,300 new deaths, or new cases, 272 deaths. So 9,600 deaths, 400 new in the U.S. in March, allegedly. That's what he starts this diary entry with. A couple paragraphs later, actually just one paragraph later, quote, "Big front page article about me appeared in the Washington Post. Very flattering." That's another one. April 23rd, 2020. There's this entry in Fauci's diary, quote, "After the presser about 1 hour, Deb Birx texted and then called me saying it was good that I was not there since after the presser, Trump called her into the Oval Office and started yelling at her saying, 'You and Fauci have destroyed the country and the economy. I should have never listened to you. You have completely destroyed us.' He kept saying this over and over again and was yelling at her. I encouraged her that we are okay, and at the end of the day, she and I will be loved by the people we care about. She was relieved and after wrote me a text sincerely thanking me." So this is Fauci's frame of reference. No hesitation. Hey, our boss, the commander-in-chief, is telling us that our recommendation and our advice was bad. No second thought to that. Just, we don't care about his opinion anyway. Deb Birx. We're going to be okay. Another one. Fauci, in a 2023 interview and multiple occasions, has repeatedly claimed that he forced no one, he talked no one into shutting down schools, businesses, churches at all. Here's another entry in the diary. Quote, "I spoke with Bill de Blasio, mayor of New York City, and convinced him based on what I was saying publicly in my conversation tonight to close the New York City schools. He had already decided based on what I was saying on TV. I went on to tell him he should close the bars and restaurants in New York City. He said he would base this on my recommendation. I had a similar call with Ann O'Leary, the chief of staff of Governor Gavin Newsom of California. Ann said based on my TV appearances today and yesterday, the governor has decided to close the schools in California as well as the bars and restaurants." Fauci has repeatedly claimed that he talked no one into, forced no one to shut down schools, businesses. But here he is in his diary saying that he talked people into doing just that. Tom Elliott at Grabian did kind of a rundown of the most used words in the Fauci diaries that were made public by Senator Rand Paul. Never once in his diaries did the term peer-reviewed surface. Never once did the term meta-analysis surface. There was one mention of seroprevalence, one mention of the term cost-benefit. He mentioned in his diary writings, award. That word appears 80 times. The word hero appears 49 times. The word Instagram 36 times, bobblehood 23 times, selfie 19 times. Entries headed by press 641 times in the Fauci diaries. we handed the most powerful nation on earth. And this is on President Trump. It is. Now, it so happens, and this is not nothing, that the left started shooting at Trump as well. And the left put him through lawfare as well. So it's not as if he hasn't been through the ringer as well, unfairly. But this is the guy President Trump entrusted the entire most powerful country on earth with. And he's a total narcissistic psychopath, hungry for attention. If only someone had pointed that out over and over and over and over again in 2020. Alas, no such people exist. Senator Mitch McConnell of Kentucky posted another proof of life photograph yesterday, posing, apparently, at home with his wife, Elaine Chao. So we're being told, after a 2-week silence, that Mitch McConnell is alive and at home. Let's go now to Trump. He gave an update on the progress on the war with Iran. Seems like the shooting has stopped. Here he is.
Militarily, they're defeated, okay? You wouldn't know that by reading the fake news, but militarily, look, they're Navy. So they had 159 ships. Every ship is right now underwater. Typically, that's pretty good. What do you think, Jared? I mean, it's going to be hard for them to make a naval comeback. Okay, now they have an Air Force. Every one of their planes has been shot down or has been decimated. They have missiles, about 82% are gone, and they have drones, and most of them are gone. Most of the factories are mostly gone, and we have tremendous anti-drone equipment now.
President Trump on the status of the war with Iran. I lied. That wasn't from yesterday. That was from April 29th, 3 months ago. You believe me, though, because he said pretty much the exact same thing yesterday. So, should we stop talking about the Iran conflict? I kind of think so. Because, I mean, this is ridiculous. He's saying the exact same thing 3 months later. And you believed it. You fell for it. Because he's been saying the same thing almost every day. And it's not Trump's fault. He's the commander-in-chief. He got us into this thing. But, again, don't know what the plan is. It's not a stalemate. The military endeavor has been a stupendous success. But until something is final, I don't know what the point of reporting on this anymore is. Like I said, it seems like there is a pause in the strikes between Iran and the United States that caused oil prices to go down to start the week. In New York City, Mamdani mania is coming for the grocery stores.
Here's how it will work. Once a month, our 5 city-run grocery stores will set prices for this core set of goods at 30% below typical retail prices. No exceptions, no gimmicks. The savings will last for the entire month. That means no weekly fluctuations nor sticker shock at the checkout line.
Prices will be set at 30% below typical retail prices, no exceptions. That's going to go really well. Have you ever seen Zohran Mamdani not smiling? Look at this. This is Mayor Mamdani, caught in a still frame photograph. Caught in a moment where he let his guard down. He wasn't being coached by whoever is coaching him. This is what he looks like when he's not smiling. Now ask yourself, have you ever seen Zohran Mamdani not smiling? Is this the first time? Those eyes, as many people have pointed out. Now, he looks very tired there. That's also true. But I think there's a reason he's probably been coached to smile as much as possible, every single moment. When we come back, an addendum to some of the data about Catholic leadership and what their feelings are towards world religions. Also, how bad are the Fauci diaries? I'll give you a little bit of perspective on that. That's coming up next. So I told you about that data yesterday, the survey. It's some old data from Ryan Burge, National Survey of Religious Leaders 2019-2020. This data purportedly showed 47% of Catholic clergy, 47% agree with the statement, quote, all the great religions of the world are equally good and true. Now, Ryan Burge, this researcher, came back and said he made a mistake with the share of Catholic. He broke it out by non-priest leaders of Catholic in the Catholic Church, priests, and all Catholic leaders. And it turns out that priests, only 27% of Catholic priests agree with that statement. All great religions are true and equal. Only 27%. That's still a pretty big problem. 1 in 4 Catholic priests are basically pagan, universalist. I've seen so many Catholics crucifying this guy who made a mistake. He admitted it. And I said yesterday, either that survey is cooked or we are, or the Catholic Church is. I've seen so many Catholics crucifying this guy over his mistake, not realizing how bad of a look it is. You're taking umbrage with a guy, a researcher, for messing up one data set when it's quite possible and believable that a quarter of your priests are not even Christians. Do you see the problem? See the problem? Absolutely tearing this guy's throat out over one mistake because he overstated how many Catholic clergy agree with the aforementioned statement. Because it makes the Catholic Church look bad. Not realizing the revised number is pretty much just as bad. I don't know what the threshold, I think in God's economy, the threshold of those who say there is no God or God and Allah are the same. I think the threshold in God's economy is 0.0000001% of Catholic or Christian clergy agreeing with that statement. That's bad. If it's 1%, 1.5% like we saw from the evangelicals yesterday, that's bad. But 27%? Oh, and by the way, I want to add this in as well. There was some data that Ryan Burge, this researcher, same survey, I believe, just a couple, 2-3 months ago, had out, showing that younger Catholic priests are much more conservative than the boomer generation. And I saw some of these same people attacking this Ryan Burge, just absolutely crucifying him over a mistake. Catholics doing this. I saw them fetting that information when it made the Catholic Church look good. Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that the Catholics do right or do well. Tradition, when it comes not just to ecclesiastical tradition, but academy, the arts, those are things that they do well. And in their own way, though not to God's standard, have by and large stood the test of time. But holy cow, this is just a cut and dried example of, hey, before you deal with the speck in Ryan Burge's eye, you should probably deal with the 1/4 of your priests who aren't even Christian. Just a thought. How bad are the Fauci diaries? You know the name Dr. Scott Gottlieb? He's basically the mouthpiece for Big Pharma on cable television. He was one of the worst COVID panic porn stars in 2020. One of the worst. Lockstep with Dr. Anthony Fauci throughout the entire pandemic. Throughout the entire rollout of the jab with 1% effectiveness. Here he is on CNBC yesterday, being asked on Squawk Box about his relationship with Dr. Anthony Fauci. How bad are the Fauci diaries? This was a close lockstep ally of Dr. Anthony Fauci.
How about your buddy, your buddy Fauci that I've asked you about in the past? You've defended him quite a bit.
Look, I mean, I don't know what you're referring to in terms of defending him.
I've asked him about whether he orchestrated a cover-up of the lab origin because of his involvement in making gain-of-function research possible again in China, which he did. He knew that would come back to haunt him, and then basically told his colleagues go with the natural origin. It was obvious 3 years ago, Scott, to me anyway, and everybody else, that he orchestrated that.
Yeah, look, we've talked about this on the show. I think the evidence in terms of whether this was human or naturally derived, I think the side of the ledger that speaks to this potentially coming out of a lab has grown over time. And we haven't had any new evidence suggesting that this came out of a natural origin or spillover.
The latest stuff that came out about him,
it was disappointing.
Didn't he know that it was likely it was from the lab and go to great lengths and tell people to destroy emails?
Well, look, and I've looked through the emails, some of them that have been online. I think it's disappointing to see him trying to suppress alternative opinions, and that clearly was evidence from the emails. I thought it was disappointing. The part of it that also disappointed me was how much he enjoyed the media associated with the event and his own appearances. I think a lot of us went on the media out of a sense of obligation. It was a hard time for all of us. I know it was a hard time for you. I think a lot of us felt an obligation to inform the public, and it wasn't particularly enjoyable. I mean, I got a lot of threats. Others did associated with that. And so to see those emails where he is evidencing some pleasure in the notoriety he achieved, that's disappointing.
It's
chief ally in the media and from Big Pharma of Anthony Fauci, Dr. Scott Gottlieb, saying these revelations from the Fauci diaries are disappointing. How much he enjoyed the media attention was disappointing. That's not the Fauci that I knew. So many people. I mean, the course of this country, unfortunately, it seems like at this point in 2026, was fundamentally altered by 2020 and what happened in early 2020. And nobody's going to be held accountable. It doesn't seem like the Scott Gottliebs of the world. They get to keep going on CNBC and Squawk Box, answer a hard question here or there, but he was just as bad as Fauci. Difference is he was in the private sector. Fauci worked for us, allegedly. Unreal. This week so far, through 2 days, has been a really weird and quite frankly bad flashback to 2020. It really has been. So many things we took for granted. Well, it was shown that a lot of people take those things for granted, and not enough were willing to fight back. Not nearly enough. Man, I hate ending things on a dour note. Is there anything good to talk about? Yeah, how about your Bible? Go read your Bible. God's good all the time. I think that's a good pat way to end it. That's going to do it for... Oh, by the way, yesterday, in Des Moines, we hit a 4.1 on the soup-o-meter. A 4.1 on the soup-o-meter out of 5. That is Hell's Rectum territory. We reached that yesterday in Des Moines. That's going to do it for Tuesday. Back at it again tomorrow. I'm Aaron McIntire, and this is the AM Update.